in good and bad ways. But it's not just big summer blockbuster movies.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's interesting. And Wonder Woman in particular, I find a little bit interesting. There's a female film writer who I've interviewed, and I follow her, and she wrote a really interesting article about it that I really agree with, saying, as a feminist, she really wants to say she liked Wonder Woman and thought it was great.
Right.
But it was just kind of okay. And that's a lot that's how I felt. And in my review of it, I remember talking about how it's just like other superhero movies, for better or for worse, which just proves it really doesn't matter what the gender is, because I thought this movie really could have been like Wonder Man, and it would have been the same movie pretty much. So just like, to me, Captain America could be, I don't know, now I'm trying to think of a feminine equivalent, but that's really already gender neutral.
Miss America?
So I think that Wonder Woman was fine, and it was enjoyable, but like, was it the most amazing superhero movie I've seen? Not really.
Well, the funniest thing about it all to me is that who released that movie? Brett Ratner. So here comes like this, Brett Ratner, who has been notoriously open about his misogyny for, his whole career. But they want to shy away from that. A friend of mine got a screener of Wonder Woman.
They just came in the mail. I have that one too, actually.
And on the cover, is it on the cover of yours where it says the quote that's like, not only a triumph for women, but a triumph in general, or something like that? Like
I don't know, but I did Instagram it, so I can take a look at my photo and tell you.
And I think that kind of thing is what's obscuring the language. I think that what's happening is we are becoming more conscious as a society of the role that women play, and we're becoming more conscious of that we do things just because we've been told that that's how it goes. The men are the heroes, the women are like the victims. And that's getting flipped on its ear. And but I feel like the scale is kind of tipping in bad directions, as like where like some people take that too far. Like in Wonder Woman, I literally feel like Wonder Woman is being praised for one thing, but actually it's got all these problems. I'm kind of like I'm a little muddy.
It is interesting, and so I'm looking at the screener photo now, just so I can tell you. My thumb is covering in the photo part of it, but yes, it says something like a woman isn't. It isn't just. I'm covering the word that's before woman, but woman isn't just a triumph for women, it's a triumph, period. Oh, probably it says wonder under my finger.
Wonder Woman is a triumph for...
Like, what comes before woman?
Wonder Woman is a triumph, period.
Yes. So...
But to me, that actually negates what makes Wonder Woman so exceptional, though, like as a film. Like to give credit to the film itself as opposed to what actually makes it special, that's a discredit. And I feel like that's a way to keep things kind of...
How do you mean that phrase? And I want to jump in a second, in my opinion, but if you rephrase...
What's got people really excited about Wonder Woman is that it is a female superhero, female lead, who is at least billed as a strong, intelligent, action-taking woman. That's what's actually got people excited.
Right.
But by saying, like, oh, the movie is great, that's just not true. At the best, the movie is serviceable.
No. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I got to learn to stop saying no to you guys or whatever. It's not cool. But I'm just saying I have a different opinion. So, I mean, I think that I really thought that it was phenomenal on every level, except the only thing I hated about it, perhaps, or disliked was
that the Germans speak English in bad German accents.
Whatever. But no, the not really a spoiler because I can't remember exactly what it was. But the ending, where the final showdown with the giant, CGI monstrosity in fire and all. I mean, that became too typical. But for superhero movies. But I thought that this was a really fresh perspective. I liked that you had a fairly big star like Chris Pine having to be the second banana, that it was such a flip, but it didn't feel like a forced gender flip. It felt clever to me, and in a good way. And
who had to mansplain everything there? Nobody paid attention to who Wonder Woman was until he told them who she was.
That was the times. I bet also the sequels it won't be.
But also this idea that like she wasn't sexualized too is also a little silly to me, because the first time she fights in that bar, the guy first thing he says is, "I'm amazed and aroused." I also don't think there's anything wrong with sexualizing people. Chris Pine himself is sexualized in that movie, and that's a good thing. It's good to celebrate, like those qualities in people.
But
and I like that point a lot because I always wonder a little bit when they say things, right, like not sexualized. I'm like, she's really still just half dressed. And like, even as a woman, I look and I'm like, she looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could wear that outfit. Like, I don't.
You could, Zoe.
Thank you. I don't think so. But I think that it's like that same sort of thing. Like, are we just talking about like, why isn't wearing half an outfit sexualized automatically, or is it the same as like if a man's not wearing a shirt, why is he suddenly now isn't sexualized? Like, right, like it is automatic. Like that's life.
I don't know if you've seen this, and I'm amazed that I've seen this, that apparently one thing that's going around right now on Twitter and stuff is that the costumes for the Warriors, Wonder Woman's
family,
the Amazons, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. For the Amazons, they in Justice League are different costumes than they were in Wonder Woman.
Oh, are they?
And in Wonder Woman, they were like complete, like breastplate, like covered up. And in Justice League, they're kind of like bikini miniskirty, kind of like like they are
sexier. Wow.
Well, and yes, so that is interesting, right?
Yeah.
So that is in the way wrong direction. Sure, I absolutely agree with that. But to say that the Amazons aren't sexy in Wonder Woman, I think it's a put down.
Right.
Like,
no, I agree. And it's the same as like looking at Thor, like the way he's dressed to be sexualized too. Like you see the muscles, like it's not a secret.
The problem is that films have been mostly sexualizing women, from day one. That is a problem, absolutely. But it's time to, let's find the balance. Let's celebrate everything about people.
Well, the thing that you guys actually commenting on this stuff made me think for the first time about this, that perhaps this is Captain Obvious, my new superhero, but the thing is that I hadn't thought of that as far as the costuming. I thought, she's cute, but I'm so used to seeing Wonder Woman be that way or dressed that way. But then to have what I thought was a really well-written, thoughtful, well-rounded superhero, especially in a DC movie, that's what really shocked me, was that this was actually a really good movie coming from DC, the first one, I think, out of this modern DC universe. And so to think that, wow, she's able to have all these three-dimensional qualities, and the movie had, I thought, a lot to say, which I'd like to address at some point in the next few minutes. But the thing is that to have her reduced to wearing tiny shorts and her cleavage and her bare arms and all that, when Superman gets a full outfit and Batman gets a full outfit and the Flash gets a full outfit, you're right, it is very demeaning and sexualized in a way, and not in a good way, I don't think.
Yeah, but at the same time, they have full outfits, and I can't speak to Flash because I can't really
he wears a full red
head
to toe thing.
But I think Spider-Man and Batman are definitely sexualized. Like they're big and muscular.
Absolutely.
They're definitely supposed to be good-looking guys.
Spider-Man. They've been
did I say
them
Spider-Man? I meant
Superman.
Superman. If I said Spider, I meant Super.
Okay.
Spidey, I think of as a kid. That said, again,
Don't
I love
sexualize
Don't sexualize a child.
That said, again, I love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man.
I like
I'm going back to
the
the
new kid, too.
first
One of the most brilliant casting strokes of all time. Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. The only, it's phenomenal.
I like Tom Holland a little, sort of, but not anywhere
Continue
near
your
Tobey.
point, though.
Yeah.
Fuck Spider-Man.
The only thing I wanted to add, I guess, in this realm that sometimes I think as people who have had a lot of opportunity in general is that, so the Gina Davis Institute, which Gina Davis runs, is about, feminism and promoting women, and not even just in film. And there's a hashtag, if she can see it, she can be it. And there are lots of studies done, and it's not even just for women, about like kids, particularly even like African-American children who don't see role models who look like them. And there are lots of studies that show if they don't see people who look like them teaching, for instance, then they don't realize I can be a teacher. And I think that it's really easy to forget that some people feel that way when you've maybe been raised with a lot of opportunity. Or like my mom was a feminist before it was like a cool thing, and so she took me to like only female doctors, so I would see women can be doctors. It never ever occurred to me growing up I couldn't do something. But then if you think about it from the point of view of someone who never has those opportunities, there are studies that show that is an issue. So I feel like on one hand, yes, I want to say like, okay, Wonder Woman, it was only an okay film, whatever. But on the other hand, I feel like I don't want to negate all of those other people who have grown up without a female superhero and who genuinely look to her now as, oh, I have this example instead of Superman, instead of Batman. Whereas, yes, I can look at them and go, I'm just happy watching Superman or Batman, whoever, I don't care. But there are people who this is a big deal for. Right. So I don't want to overlook that either.
Right. And to me, though, to overqualify the film does actually overlook that. Like because the film is, you know what, I hate that this just became another superhero discussion because I think that's the problem with entertainment in general, but, you know, hell with it. Wonder Woman is a bad movie. Not subjectively. It is subjectively a bad movie. It's both. It's a bad film. It is. Okay, first of all, like we can really go into all the ways that movie is condescending and stupid. It truly is. From what's that scene, the No Man's Land scene that everybody loves, where she's literally running as mortar shells are flying and mortar shells are dropping next to her. Okay, fine. It's dropping. She literally deflects a mortar shell with her shield, and then it flies into a wall and explodes. That's not how a mortar shell works. Okay.
Okay, because she's awesome and she's Wonder Woman.
Right, but what I'm saying is, then literally them falling next to her, and then we've got the whole thing with the Germans who, very condescendingly, they do not speak German to one another. They speak English in bad German accents. And now, you may not think that that's a big deal, but here's why it is a big deal. One, Marvel, we'll just stick with Marvel. From minute one with Iron Man, they have allowed characters who do not speak English to speak their native language to one another, and they subtitle it. Whether it's Iron Man, X-Men, Batman, any of them. DC didn't feel that was necessary. And when you plant that seed in the head of a child that someone else's culture will come down to your level, like, that's actually a problem.
Wow.
That is it doesn't surprise me that you know, it doesn't surprise me that Donald Trump is president based on building a wall to keep people out, because that's what we're giving our kids. Now, here's the thing.
Okay, whoa. Now you just made a really big stretch. I was like really thinking about your very interesting point, and I think it boils down to Hollywood is concerned about people watching their movies, and let's face it, most Americans don't want to read their movies. So I thought that was an interesting point. I don't know that like DC using English in their movies is exactly the direct correlation to our new president.
No, I'm not saying that it's directly a direct correlation. What I'm saying is it's a planted seed. What you you specifically you just said that when children don't see themselves represented, they don't feel like it's they might not necessarily feel like it's something that's achievable, right? That's why your mother took you to female doctors and things like that. So if you do not expose children to other cultures, and worse than that, when you do expose them to other cultures, you tell them that those cultures will come down to your level and be a part of your culture, that is a planted seed. Okay, and Wonder Woman being billed the way it is being billed the way it is because they have nothing else to bill it on other than the fact that it is the first time a major studio has given respect on this level to a female hero. And that's
a female director, frankly, too. But yeah. I mean, like, the first big major movie that a female director was ever given, the biggest, at least budget-wise and you know, image-wise and all that stuff. It was a huge precedent.
Okay, since our goal was not to speak about superhero movies, but to talk about female-driven movies and directors, I will transition this to a similar-ish example, which I feel like will probably, possibly, I don't know, inspire as much passion. So Ghost in the Shell came out not that long ago. Right. Scarlett Johansson, the big...
I didn't see it.
Okay. Did you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So the big controversy with it was the whitewashing. Like, she's supposed to be a Japanese character, and yet the star of this movie is white and blonde. And so one of the things that I found really interesting with that, having lived in Japan myself, is that it seems like this is an issue that white people really want to make it, but it's not, I think, culturally. If anything, to me, casting her as white Scarlett Johansson was like the perfect Japanese casting because, number one, anime characters, whether they are drawn or in manga, which is the comic books, frequently have white features. Like, that is a really big issue, and I think that from like a sociological perspective is a huge issue in Japan, that like their heroes do not look Japanese frequently. And so we've got a character who doesn't look like a lot of people think is the wrong casting, whereas in Japan, people were saying like perfect casting.
Right.
The other thing that I thought was funny along these lines of speaking the language is there is one character who speaks Japanese in that movie. And everything is subtitled. And what to me was funny is it almost looked like he didn't exist because he would speak Japanese and everyone else spoke English. And it was sort of like, what's happening here? It's like he could be a ghost.
Right.
Literally. Right.
Well, again, even to bring it back to Inglourious Bastards, one thing that they don't sell you